Hello, my name is Donald Peck. I'm the pastor at the United Methodist Church in Loami, Illinois. I make these weekly videos for all of you who wish to have something in your in-home worship and also for your in-home Bible study. So the lesson today is from Job, as will the next three lessons will be in the same book. And we're going to begin reading in Job chapter 1, verse 1, and then skip to Job chapter 2, verses 1 through 10. And I'm reading in the New International Version of the Bible. So here we go. There was once a man in the land of Uz, or Uz. I think Uz is the preferable pronunciation, whose name was Job. That man was blameless and upright, and one who feared God and turned away from evil. And then one day the heavenly beings came to present themselves before the Lord. And Satan also came among them to present himself before the Lord. And the Lord said to Satan, "Where have you come from?" And Satan answered the Lord, "From going to and fro on the earth, and from walking up and down on it." And the Lord said to Satan, "Have you considered my servant Job? There is no one like him on the earth, a blameless and upright man who fears God and turns away from all evil. He still persists in his integrity, even though you incited me against him to destroy him for no reason." And Satan answered to the Lord, "Skin for skin. All that people have, they will give to save their lives. But stretch out your hand now and touch his bone and his flesh, and he will curse you to your face." And the Lord said to Satan, "Very well. He is in your power. Only spare his life." And so Satan went out from the presence of the Lord and inflicted loathsome sores on Job from the sole of his foot to the crown of his head. And he took a potsherd, or a little broken piece of pottery, with which to scrape himself, and he sat among the ashes. And then his wife said to him, "Do you still persist in your integrity? Just curse God and die." And then Job said to her, "You speak as any foolish woman would speak. Shall we receive the good at the hand of God and not receive the bad?" In all this Job did not sin with his lips. The word of the Lord, thanks be to God. So many people question the validity of this book and wonder, why is it even in the Bible? Well, the reason it's in the Bible is because it is recognized as being valid by Jesus Christ himself while he was here on earth, and he taught the scriptures, and the book of Job was included in his teaching. Now, the author is unknown. It's believed to have been written in the 7th century BCE, before Common Era. The theme is one that's played out day after day after day in our own century, and is to show that in a world where evil is a reality, good people may appear to suffer unjustly, but that such injustice is precipitated by the accuser, Satan. And though permitted by God, it is an expression of God's total confidence that the faith of his servant will triumph. The theme of Job is not so much about suffering, but about righteousness in the face of evil, and so validated by the mention of Job in Ezekiel chapter 14 as a righteous man. Now, the premise of Satan, who is known also as the accuser and adversary. When you read the book of Job, you'll see both of these terms. The premise of Satan is that Job serves God because he expects and gets something in return, skin for skin. Take away the home, the children, the money, and anything else of value, and see if he still serves God. Well, he did that, and the outcome frustrated Satan and suggested that physical torment would destroy the faith of Job. Fine, God said, just do not take his life. So, in the next scene, we see Job miserable in the community garbage dump, covered in ashes and scratching himself with a piece of broken pottery. That's the lesson for today. The elephant in the room is God's awareness of pain and suffering, and he allows it to go on? Oh, why? Why? I volunteer at the hospital, so I'm around people who are in pain and suffering. And sometimes in our pain and suffering, we focus on the pain and suffering, and God's presence becomes so distant and so unaware because we are so aware of the pain and suffering. And we think God has abandoned us. Well, this lesson and subsequent lessons are for people who feel that way. And Job is a good book to read during your pain and suffering. Well, the pain and suffering. So the question is, why does God allow pain and suffering of good people? They don't deserve this. Of course they don't. And to answer that question merits a look at the scene of the Garden of Eden, as recorded in Genesis chapter 3. And this was in response to the sin of Adam and Eve, when God said to the woman, in verse 16, Genesis chapter 3, to the woman he said, I will make your pains in childbearing very severe. With painful labor you will give birth to children. Your desire will be for your husband, and he will rule over you. And to Adam he said, because you listened to your wife and ate fruit from the tree about which I commanded you, you must not eat from it. Cursed is the ground because of you. And through painful toil you will eat food from it all the days of your life. And it will produce thorns and thistles for you, and you will eat the plants of the field. By the sweat of your brow you will eat your food until you return to the ground, since from it you were taken. And for dust you are, and to dust you will return. And again, the word of the Lord. Wow. So, the summary is that Adam and Eve lived in this garden of paradise and could stay there for eternity if they'd wanted to, but God told them not to eat fruit from a certain tree. And Satan come along and tempted them and told them, there's going to be benefit from eating that fruit, and you'll become more aware, and like God himself. And so they listened to the serpent, or to the Satan. And they ate the apple, and the outcome was, for a temporary period in the vast expanse of eternity, mankind has been separated from God and from the wonderful paradise that God had created for them and wanted for them. So, ever since that moment, we have lived in an environment that is cursed by God on account of mankind's, by proxy, failure to follow the will of the Lord. So, the environment of pain and suffering that is ours to endure, it just is. And if you have to blame anyone, it should be on the first family who brought sin and its consequences into our existence. And in this story, there's some good from this scene in the Garden of Eden, because God declared to Satan that the offspring of the woman would crush his head. And in that statement, thus announced the end of Satan's time on earth as prophesied in the book of Revelation, chapter 20, verse 10. And the devil who deceived them was thrown into the lake of burning sulfur, where the beast and the false prophet had been thrown. And they will be tormented day and night forever and ever. This is Satan's destiny. And Satan knows this. Meanwhile, here on earth and in this world today, we exist in this world where Satan is constantly going to and fro about the earth, frustrating the plan of God and trying to destroy the faith of those believers in God, just as he did in Job. So now perhaps you can see how that your happenstance here in this earth is very similar and very familiar to and in the book of Job. Okay, the point of connection. That's what we have here in this book. And I hope that you continue to read it. Read through the book. We're going to have 3 more sermons or 3 more lessons from the book of Job in the month of October. So read and read and read. Now, back to the lesson. It becomes apparent that suffering and pain is the substance of our realm, and the measure of our faith is, can we endure without, as was recommended to Job, curse God and die? He has this option, but chooses to remain faithful to God. And that is for us. In the midst of all of our trial and circumstance, we have the option to just walk away from our faith. This was Job's option, but he didn't, and I hope you don't either. And here's another side point. Has to do with free will. The presence of a choice here in this instance for Job and for us is an expression of the free will component in our relationship with God. All right? God wants us to have faith in Him and involve Him in our lives. And He wants us to choose to do so. Finally, for Job, there is no life without faith. Without his faith in the believing in Yahweh or God, for him, if all you have in this world is faith, then you have life. And when you hold on to faith, you not only have life, but you defeat the devil. And Job did. Even in this first scene in chapter 2, in all this, Job did not sin with his lips. And so can you. You can do the same. Now, in conclusion, I think one of the most profound lessons in this text is the awareness that God is a participant in our struggle on this sinful, painful life. We don't see Him. We don't sense Him, especially when our eyes are on the pain and the source of the pain. We don't sense God, and we don't see God, and we don't feel God. Why? Because we've taken our point of focus in life off the things that matter. And the things that matter is our relationship with God and our life after death. That is what matters. For that is the continuation of the soul, or that which makes us us. The continuation of that life beyond the death and the absence of this life. I hope that makes sense. Well, life on this earth as it is not the life that God wanted for us, but has accepted the choice of our proxy, which was Adam and Eve, and has accepted our status, which is to be here in the midst of all of this, where Satan is running to and fro, frustrating the plan of God for us. And yet he has provided for us a future life with him in heaven. As he was aware of and a participant in the struggle of Job, so is he aware and a participant in our struggles. And this is something that you need to believe to get you through the struggles of this life. Well, faith in this fact will give us the strength to endure whatever it is this world throws our way. I hope that you believe this and take this to heart, and I hope it helps you. God bless you in your journey with God.